Hello, and welcome to another episode of CodePub. Today I have the honor of having somebody that's really great in the industry, that I consider great in the industry he's in. That's somebody I've grown to consider a friend. Today I have Lazar Nikolov on, who does a bunch of DevRel, does a bunch of development. I had the honor of streaming with him a couple of times, so Lucky, welcome aboard.
Oh, thanks, man. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yep, honor's all mine, man. So first, we are starting off this thing usually with a set of boring administrative questions to get to know who Lazar Nikolov actually is and how he got started. So, to sort of for a warm-up round, how did you get into programming? What were your first experiences? What was your motivation to get into this thing at all?
Yeah. Well, let's check this out. I used to be in a rock band. I played bass guitar.
Cool.
We're talking about teenage years, right? You're not getting paid, just free booze. And that was more than enough for us.
I mean,
I think we ended up doing more damage than if we got paid, but yeah, it was not our decision. But basically, so one day we're at band practice. I needed to tune my guitar, and I basically asked everyone, "Can you be quiet for just it's 4 strings, goddammit. It's a bass guitar. Let me tune these 4 strings because I did it by ear. I don't have the tools." And the drummer whips out this HTC. I can't remember the exact model, but this was the first, I think it was the first Android phones.
Right.
Yeah. And he whips it out and he says hey, use this guitar tuner app. I was like, what? Nice. You can do that? I used to have the slide up Samsung. That thing has only SMS and calls. It was all right.
Yeah, like buttons and typing and shit. Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell has HTC to do with music and the music industry and instruments and stuff? I couldn't see that.
Fair question.
Yeah, HTC. And he was like, no, this has nothing to do with HTC, actually. It's an Android app that someone from this world, we don't know who, built it and published it on Google Play. So I just downloaded it. That was mind-blowing. I was like, so you're saying to me that I can actually do the same? I can build my app using code as instructions and have thousands of people in this world download it and keep my app in their pockets? That was mind-blowing. That was the hook there.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing idea that you have actually the power to use code and put it on this small device to solve your everyday stuff, stuff like, tuning a guitar or whatever. It's really cool.
It was a need, right? And
like
a year later, I quit the band. I knew I wanted to do this full time, forever.
Right. So music and rock bands as a gateway drug to programming. That's an interesting path. Yeah, and a path that, people in DevRel seem to take quite often. But yeah, that's a different topic. What did you guys play, actually?
We played some more commercial stuff, honestly. I mean, you're in the Tikvesh region. There's not a lot of rock or metal going on. There's no demand for it. So if you play heavier stuff, you won't get booked. No drinks.
Yeah.
You have to
That's
pay
not
for
a
drinks.
Great thing. Yeah.
But if you decide to not pay for drinks, you will just play something more commercial. Some songs that usually everybody knows. But deep down inside, we all wanted to play something heavier.
It's the thought that counts. Yeah. But I mean, you sort of stop doing that anyway. Are you still playing, by the way?
Really rare.
Okay.
Just occasionally, once or twice a week. I got my guitar here. I'm actually wanting to do some stuff to it, put some tailpiece, release some tension on the strings, on the bridge. It's fun,
Yeah, so from music to guitar making, to coding to guitar making, something like that, right?
If AI takes my job, I'll just open a wood shop and build guitars and repair guitars. Why not,
Well, I mean, carpentry is cool, man. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, once you develop that initial bug for coding and it, gets under your skin and so forth, the usual reflex for people is to, go get an education, go get a degree, be a part of a web academy or stuff like that. What
Mhm.
was it for you?
Well, yeah, I actually built an app immediately. Like I learned coding at school during
Hmm.
classes. I'm sorry, teachers. I wasn't really paying attention. Uh, so yeah, while everything was going on during the classes, I was actually just reading HTML, CSS, but then got into Java, so I can
Hmm.
build that app.
Ah,
And this
right,
was
right, right.
around the time before I graduated high school. So we have
Hmm.
the graduation tests that you needed to pass, and math is hard.
It is.
Yeah. So I built an app for me because they told us you can
Oh.
use your phones for the calculator. So I built an
Ah.
app called Pocket Formulas.
Lovely.
Yeah. And it basically rendered latex formulas in categories for me. So I can like remind myself, but then switch back. Basically, I built it a cheat on the test. And I didn't end up finishing it on time.
Ah.
I ended up studying for the test like I should. And I got a 3 on the high school test. What's that? It's like C? Yeah, I think it's a C.
It's an equivalent to C in,
Pretty much,
the
yeah.
Western grading system. So
Yeah.
sure.
But I actually published it later on. It came to like 10,000 downloads.
Oh damn,
It was
that's
amazing.
nice.
Yeah. I just shared it on Facebook and it picked up. There were not a
Cool.
lot of apps that time.
Yeah, I mean, Android was, I imagined, a pretty new thing around those times.
Yeah.
iPhone was a bit bigger. It had probably a bigger ecosystem by then anyway.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of opportunity. I imagine it was probably one of the first ones out there.
The apps wise, I'm not sure. But yeah, compared to today, it's fractional.
No, I mean one of the first in the space for formulas and for
Oh,
stuff like that, probably.
you know what? I didn't actually check. I went straight into building it. It was a challenge of building it, Like, hey, this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
mine.
yeah.
I don't care if something else exists. I built this.
No, that's very interesting. Our first reflex these days is very different. Like, search on the App Store or search on NPM for something ready made. We're not really,
Yeah.
wired to just build it by default.
Yeah.
That's no longer the case, for better or worse.
Yeah. But yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Cool, cool. So, educational highlight reel. What were your, most interesting experiences during your IT education?
Yeah. Well, got into Finky.
Mm-hmm.
That's like FSCE, FCSE. Yeah. Got into
Yeah.
Finky. It was cool, you know, uh, junior students and everything that comes with it. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, second year, when second year came, a friend of mine, we went to this local hackathon. It was organized by Hack Club Kika
Mm-hmm.
uh, with
Oh yeah, my
the
roommates, those guys are cool.
yeah, and I think it was something like a 48-hour hackathon. We actually slept at the space. It was
Hmm.
really cool. So we built an app to for companies to. It's like a job board, but for interns.
Ah, right, right, cool.
Yeah. So it was native Android. We built it in Eclipse. Yep.
I remember that.
Yeah. We have vivid memories of Eclipse. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the backend was in Node.js with I'm not sure what database we used. I think it was like Postgre or something like that. But that was not my part. I was working on the mobile app. My friend was working on the backend, and then we just connected the two, and
Hmm.
we ended up winning the
Oh
hackathon.
damn, nice.
Cool. We got some vouchers for
Mm-hmm.
Anhoj, the tech store. That was cool. I bought myself a shiny mouse with
Cool.
red glow on it. It was interesting. But what was more valuable is that because we won, we were invited to the Engage event the following few months to speak
Mm-hmm.
about our app. And that's exactly
Nice.
what we did. Uh, One issue though, before our talk, because there
Mm-hmm.
was some schedule issues and stuff, so we got pushed. We got pushed
Right?
after Peter Sunday, one of the founders of the Pirate
Ah,
Bay.
Pirates Bay Peterson.
Yeah,
Nice.
the venue was packed, and Peter gave a really cool talk. He
Mm-hmm.
finished his talk. He went outside for to speak with anyone who wants to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wanted to speak, so the
Of
venue was like
course.
pretty much empty, except for
Ah,
yeah, I
man.
think it was like 5 people in the whole auditorium, but it didn't stop us from presenting. Uh, and the person who actually mattered stayed during my talk. Yeah. Uh, and when I basically when we finished our talk, I just went down the stage, and he stopped me. He was like, "Hey, this company called InPlayer once is
Mm-hmm.
looking for an Android developer, and you seem like a capable guy. Are you looking for
Nice.
a job? Hell yeah, I'm looking for a job. So that's how I got my first job.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's a roller coaster. I mean,
Yeah,
first off, you sort of share the stage with somebody like world famous. That's sort of, that's a low bar, and sort of probably maybe influenced your current career path somewhat,
yeah.
I imagine.
And then I
But
just
also
step
like
on it.
getting a job offer? I'm like, come
Yeah,
on, man. That's amazing. That's a really cool story.
yeah.
Did you actually meet Peter Sundar or not?
I mean, we talked the backstage,
Nice.
etc. Yeah, it snapped a photo, of course. It was
Cool.
cool. Yeah,
No, I'm low key jealous. I never really had the chance to go to that event, some scheduling conflict or another, but like,
hmm
man, cool. That's really cool.
it was fun. Yeah, good talks also.
Awesome.
The other talks was also
Yeah.
pretty interesting. But yeah, this was 20. I think it was 2015. Yeah, it was 2015. And then in
Nice.
June, I started my first job. But before that, I was, of course, it's like any other student. You gotta do the internship. So I went to G6 as an Android
Mm-hmm.
developer, and it was cool as well. So yeah,
Well,
yeah. I started there. Should I continue?
no, it's like basically a natural transition to the next question, essentially. Like, what was your first professional experience? Like, what was it like? What did you get to build?
Yeah,
How did that further progress your career? And how did it, make you choose the current path? Or.
yeah. Well, it was fun. For example, when I started in InPlayer as the first company that actually employed me, I was building the Netflix equivalent in Turkey.
Ah, Redbox, right?
Yeah, Filmbox.
Filmbox, yes, it was called Redbox in some other places.
Yeah,
I actually worked on the same thing because I've worked with them for a bit as
there
well.
we go.
So
Yeah,
hey,
we worked on the same project basically.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I worked on that. I started building the Android streaming app, and then moved on to Fire TV. And it was just a matter of porting the Android app, compile it with the Fire TV SDK, and there we go. But then
Hmm.
later, they wanted to expand on Apple TV, so I needed to learn Swift,
Hmm.
and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I want to learn.
Cool.
You know,
That's really like non-standard because like the usual knee-jerk reaction is no, I don't want to learn that language. Yada
yeah,
yada. I'm learning this. People want to put themselves into boxes, and like what you do is kind of different than what people
yeah.
regularly
I
do.
basically learned everything on the fly while still having
Nice.
to deliver the project at the end. But yeah,
Yeah.
We built it. We published it. It was the most used app on Apple TV in Turkey, of course. Not a lot of competition there. Again, swooped in, got all the awards. The early birds, yeah. So yeah, and I was there for a year, and then I moved on to CodeCamp because my roommate was there, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's a change of scenery, more mobile developers. I was the only one in player, so I wanted to also learn from someone else and have more
Mm-hmm.
people talking about mobile dev.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then I switched on to C Sharp, Xamarin, got to build a lot of cool things with with Xamarin and C Sharp, like HVAC management systems and warehouse management systems, and it was really cool. Yeah, a lot of industrial projects, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was cool as well.
Sounds interesting for sure, and sounds like a very interesting and fancy, transition to what happened next.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, let's for a hot second switch to open source and
Hmm.
how much it's worth it to actually, invest your time and attention and work into open source efforts and the yields it can have. It's relevant to what happens next, I think.
Yeah. How much? Like, how did I get into that?
Yeah, like just let's start with that. How did you first get into
Mhm.
the whole open source thing?
Right. So I've always wanted to teach what I know. And I did that years ago through like occasional blog posts,
Mm-hmm.
through mentoring at the company, and also just hanging out on, Stack Overflow. Facebook was around. I mean, it still
Yeah.
is, but we don't use it anymore.
We don't care about it right
Yeah.
now, sure.
And yeah, I just like, hey, I learned about this. Let me show it to you. This can solve your problem. Cool. I wanted to do that, so I started live streaming basically. I got a
Right.
cool setup. It was minimal, just enough for me to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And I started live streaming, building an app using Chakra UI, and it was fun. I wanted to do that, but like I think 3 months later in my streaming process, Shegun reached out to me on Discord. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
"We saw that you're creating this cool content on Chakra UI. Do you want to join the core team?" Are you kidding me? Of course, I want to join the core team.
What an offer, man. I mean, like, come
Yeah,
on.
and that's what I did. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and when I asked him like, would my role be when I joined the Chakra UI core team, he was like, "You're gonna be a troublemaker."
Nice.
Yeah,
That's a nice thing to be, I think. Like considering if you're, active on the internet.
yeah, and I didn't realize, like, I couldn't understand what a troublemaker is, but now I do. It's basically a DevRel. they wanted a DevRel in the core team, and I was the one. Yeah,
The people that stir up shit. So
yeah, yeah, and yeah. I got hooked. I did that for 2 years before taking it on full time at Sentry, and yeah, I really tested it out. I was like, yeah, I can see myself doing this full time. Like, do
Mhm.
a career switch. Why not?
That's cool. That's really really cool.
Yeah,
How was your time? You were, the official voice for Chakra UA for quite a while.
yeah, for 2 years.
What?
Yeah,
That's quite a bit of time for sure. Did you get enough time and energy to do that in parallel with because you kept a day job while you
yeah,
were doing that?
yeah. I kept the day job, and then I did everything that I did after hours, basically. But it was
Mm-hmm.
it was alright. I mean, it's not even part time.
Right.
I hanged around Discord anyways. I
Mm-hmm.
learned the technology really good by trying to answer the questions that came in the Discord server. I didn't know the answers, But there was this cool code sandbox setup where you can use to, just like illustrate a point using Chakra UI. So that's what I did. I saw a question and went to Code Sandbox to figure it out, learn it, create the example, and then reply back to the person. Here's how you can do that. And I did that
so like
most of the time.
Proactivity helps for sure.
And that's how you learn a technology. Force yourself to answer someone else's questions. And I think I got more out of it than the people who asked the questions. I mean, they fixed their bug. They went on with their lives. But I think I got more out of it, to be honest. And that's what I did.
The experience is totally worth it, I would say, because you're also getting a lot of value out of that kind of helping. You learn more about the thing you're trying to educate people for. You are solving the person's problem, and it's all done in public. So it's basically triple gain. It's amazing.
And then I started working on the doc side. I produced a few tutorials on YouTube. Video was something that I also wanted to, work with. And I figured it out while being a DevRel at Chakra. And what else? Basically took over the GitHub project for the doc side. At the beginning, they were one repo, but then we separated them. So it's easier to, contribute. So you don't need the whole library. Just clone the doc side, run it. It was an Next.js app.
Yeah, it seems to be a common practice nowadays. Like most open source projects actually keep things that way.
Yeah, so I also moved to doing GitHub stuff, help others with their PRs, do code review, leave comments. Sometimes when they needed a graphical, assistance to some icons or illustrations and stuff, I did them in Figma and sent them the optimized SVG, just slap this in and you're good. And that's basically what we also did a hackathon. I think it was 3 weeks or even a month. It was asynchronous. Yeah,
that's long.
Yeah, and we had teams from Jamaica till Japan, basically the whole world, and
the
it was
entire
fun.
Stretch of the planet, basically. Cool. That's hella cool.
Actually, there was one team from Jamaica and one team from Japan, and everything in between.
Amazing, man. That's cool.
Yeah. So we did that as well. Live events and stuff, went to Dubai twice to meet the team. That was an experience.
Where did you meet? Oh, you said Dubai. Yeah,
Dubai.
I didn't catch that. Cool.
Yeah, it is a wild city, man.
Haven't been, but I've heard things, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, and it was fun, and just look at the it's like looking at the support from the community that we had, and just seeing, hey, you guys build or we're working on a really cool technology, and I appreciate it. It feels good,
Right, yeah. I totally get it.
That's my drive for open source. It just felt good to work on something and then get an immediate feedback. Hey, what you're building is really cool. Thank you.
But bottom line, it was worth it, right? I mean, obviously from your current career path and choice,
so,
but it was worth it, right?
Yeah.
So kids, contribute to open source, be active, it's worth it. Just take our word for it, Yeah, so cool. So that ultimately ended up with you at Sentry.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big name currently in the development space in general. Everybody's using you guys. Come on. You're all over the place. It's great. I mean, for obvious reasons, your product is freaking great. No argument about it.
Yeah.
It makes my life easier for, plethora of different reasons. So how did you get to Sentry? What was the story there?
Well, they reached out to me. They were starting a DevRel team. So there were no other DevRels before me, except for the director. And
Mm-hmm.
I think she got hired during my interview, so like at the same time, right? We were interviewing at the same time. Of course, I wasn't interviewing for a director role. Didn't have the experience. But yeah, it was. They reached out. They were like, "Yeah, I saw your GitHub. Uh, you're you're doing a lot for open source. Uh, I think there was like few months later, a few months after Hacktoberfest,
Mm-hmm.
and I did the thing with the whole GitHub and helping other folks contribute to Chakra UI and all these things. So like that's visible, right? You're doing it in the open.
Yeah.
And yeah, a few months later, they reached out to me. Like, do you want to be the first DevRel in Sentry? It's like, damn, this is interesting. I wasn't sure that I wanted to switch at that time when I read the email, but it put me into a thought like I do want to do this. If this is like the job and I enjoyed doing it and I did it in my free time because I enjoyed doing it,
Mm-hmm.
well, I can also get paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just logical, man. It
Yeah.
just makes sense.
There was a lot of like I put a lot of thought into it. It wasn't like it wasn't like I joined the Chakra UI core team. That was
Mm-hmm.
quick. That was on the spot. This one was a lot more life changing. It
Mm-hmm.
involved leaving the current company. It involved moving to Canada, freaking other continent. It was
Yeah, yeah,
a
absolutely.
lot of things. But yeah, eventually, my wife and I ended up taking the offer, and I
Mm-hmm.
include her into this because, of course, she plays a huge role into me accepting.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and yeah, now we're here, and it's fun.
That's cool. And like bottom line, it was certainly worth it, right? You're not unhappy for the
Hmm.
choice, right?
Zero regrets, honestly.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's a really cool story. So like so far, you've been at Sentry for a yearish, something like that.
yeah, unofficially more than a year because I
Mm-hmm.
started working from Skopje as a
Mm-hmm.
contractor until we figure out the whole visa thing and moving thing, the whole mumbo
Yeah.
jumbo. Like on paper, I start from March, but I actually started in September, so I already have a year in like for working at Sentry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
How's it like so far? I mean, I've heard some really cool stories and experiences, and we'll probably spend another 2 or 3 hours with you having to recount all of that.
yeah,
But maybe a highlight reel.
yeah. I mean, we're building it from scratch. You know, there are rough edges, but the beauty of it is that you get to find solutions for that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't walk into an established team with processes and bureaucracy and everything.
Ah, yeah.
I walked in, and there was also one other DevRel, Shanna. She interviewed after me, uh, but started before me because of
Mm.
they got the 2 weeks, you know, resignation notice. We don't.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. So she started before me, and yeah, basically tuned in, and they were like, "Okay, let's figure out how to DevRel."
That's so cool, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that was the thing.
ragtag team that figures their own thing out, sort of like an R&D for your own thing,
Yeah, yeah.
not for a problem you're solving in
We're
particular, but
still
like,
figuring it out, by the way.
yeah,
A
that's
year
that's
later,
really
yeah.
cool. Like, but it's interesting. Like many other DevRel teams I know or have talked to, whatever, they are sort of pretending to have their thing figured out
Mm.
significantly more. You guys seem to be, like honest
Yeah,
about
no,
it.
there's a lot of things we haven't figured out. But that's like that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it. That's the interesting parts. If you just walk into the ready-made stuff, you got a job.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I got more than a job now. And that's fun. That's a good bargain.
Oh, Sounds cool. Sounds like fulfilling in a very
Mm.
wholesome way, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. No, like to you, it's. I realize it's a deeper topic, and if we ask like 10 people, we'll probably get 15 different answers.
Mhm.
But to you, what does DevRel mean? What is DevRel?
Oh yeah. The the question.
The question,
The
yeah.
question. Yeah. I like to if I like to boil it down to your friend at the company. That's what I like to call
Mm-hmm.
it. You know, I'm a DevRel at Sentry. To you, I'm your friend who works at Sentry, regardless of the title.
Yep.
So you can like reach out and ask me stuff about Sentry. You know, uh, if you're not my friend who works at like, if you're not my friend, you could become if you come to a live talk. You know, or if you see some of the content that I produce, if I help you out, you'll be like, yeah, thanks, Lazar. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I like to boil it down as that friend who works at Sentry or company.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
there's a
That
lot
that's
of
cool.
aspects, of course, you know. But yeah, relations, the DevRel part, I like to think of it as that.
That's a really like probably to date the most wholesome definition I've heard
Yeah,
about the whole thing. I've heard plenty of different stuff. Taken from
influencer.
the educational angle, taken from the intersectional angle, whatever.
Yeah,
But like this, a friend at the company is like a really really cool way to put it for sure. So yeah, we know that we can dissect it further and further, and get the definition. But we'll leave it at that because I really love that definition,
yeah,
and there's like no topping it. That's it.
yeah.
But I will ask you another question on a tangent to that. Do you maybe think that we need to somewhat break it down further,
Well,
branch
yeah,
it out?
of course. I mean, you got relations, you got education, and you got experience. So relations is that being more community oriented. You talk with developers who use the product that your company is making. Um, you go to conferences, booth duty. Although at Sentry we don't do booth duty, not DevRels, but the engineers themselves. Uh,
Oh, that's
yeah,
really like non-standard. Usually, it's the other way around. Engineers are the exception, or engineers go if like there's no DevRel team on
yeah.
board.
Well, yeah. Well, we like to just apply to give talks and stuff, while the
Hmm.
engineers are uh, holding down the fort at the booth. So that's the relations part, right? Just
Yeah.
be be that friend. Then you got the educational part, which is where we at Sentry are leaning more towards. So we're going towards more of the educational, like dev ed stuff instead of DevRel stuff. And that's basically just try to figure out what the developer's pain points are and try to solve them and
Hmm.
produce an educational piece for them, whether that's like blog post or give a talk or give a workshop or make a YouTube video or make a whole course
Yeah.
on, publish it on YouTube or Egghead or whatever. Basically, yeah, figure out their problem, solve it, and then tell them how to solve it in an async way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's DevEd. And then you got DX, developer experience, which involves getting product feedback, being involved into the design processes, um, get them the feedback from the community. People are talking about this API not being, I don't know, ergonomic enough and
Hmm.
stuff.
I've heard those. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess those are, I mean, there are like other definitions. I don't like to go by definition, but those are like the three. And you can also, DX is also building like additional tooling around the product. And yeah, I think those are the three branches that I can think of right now.
Hmm.
And of course, you don't need to work at 3 of them. I know
Right,
people
yeah.
who only do conferences. They
Mm-hmm.
do 40 plus conferences and talks in a year.
Like, wow, that's a
And that's a
lot of
DevRel
time
too.
spent on planes and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have the stomach for airplane food, you're good for that. I think
Does
that
anybody really?
that must be part of the interview. Here, eat this.
No, I love that. This
Yeah.
is like really valuable.
You want to be like a traveling DevRel giving talks all around the world? Yeah, eat this. And we'll wait
Yeah,
for like
like
15 minutes with a microphone.
recruiters take notes.
Yeah.
Like, this is wisdom here, people.
That's part of the
No, I
interview.
love that. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, that's probably one of the most common ideas we have when we think about DevRel. The person that goes on stage and the person that lives the, glamorous life of living on a plane, basically, and
Yeah.
going from a
Or
city to a
tweets.
city.
Or
Yeah, no.
tweets. Hot takes.
Oh boy, yeah, that's so. Okay, I'm going to take. We are sort of getting into hot topic territory anyway, but I'm going to ask you about a different hot topic. There is this a debate. Let's call it a debate
Okay.
about whether a person that's into DevRel has to be an experienced engineer before they get into DevRel or not.
It's a good idea.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a good idea to know what you're doing. First of all, yeah, as a DevRel, you're patient zero. The people who are building the product, the engineers, they might not have the time to always dog food everything that
Yep.
they build. But you got the time.
Yeah,
You don't
that's
have
true.
the Jira tickets. Your job is different. So dog fooding is an important aspect of being a DevRel. Dog fooding means use your own product, basically.
Yeah.
And it's good to have a decent engineering skills so you can at least learn how to use your product. I mean, you're going to create educational content, right? You got to know how to use the product. And if you're a DevRel,
Yeah.
you're DevReling for a product that's meant for developers. That's why you're a DevRel. So yeah, it's a really good idea to have a good / decent engineering experience. But then also that means keep your skills sharp, maintain your skills
You
sharp.
don't have the luxury of ever going you ever half-assing what you know or not staying sharp with current trends or whatever. It's basically at that point you're more akin to middle management than anything that resembles somebody who's to offer guidance.
Yeah. Plus it's a different vibe. For example, both DevRels and engineers have deliverables. In most cases, engineers work in bigger teams, I would say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And they're pushing code, they're making it work, right?
Yeah.
If a bug happens, it's all right. We'll fix it. DevRel, on the other hand, signs their name on it. So it's easier to point fingers. And therefore, you're going to read it 10 times before before putting it out there. Especially if it's a video.
And triple check it, yeah.
If it's a video on YouTube and you can't really edit it later on and people see it. And if you upload it on the company channel, maybe the marketing team will pick it up. They'll put ads on it and stuff. A lot of people might see it. And if you're being a fool, or if you're, basically producing bugs in the education that you're basically giving, misinformations, not fact checked, your name is there. So yeah,
Your S is on the line, like
yeah,
as in personally you, not
yeah, your name,
this
yeah, as an individual,
faceless mass that builds software,
yeah.
for example. Yeah, that's hard.
That's an important like aspect and difference of the I don't know the difference between an engineer and the DevRel. We both have responsibilities. We both have things to ship. You know, but they're like you're more on, yeah. Your reputation is more on the line if you're a DevRel because everything you do is public.
Hmm.
You might not be an open source company, so your engineers will be pushing code that only themselves will see. Who's gonna do a git blame? Probably your colleagues, but that's all right, right?
Hmm. Yeah, you know them personally. It's cool. Like
Yeah.
it's fine.
Of course, there's more pressure in open source companies because everyone sees the code that you push. So there you go. Your name is on the PR. Is are you making a dumb mistake? Yeah, I can see who's making that dumb mistake. So it's a different story for open source companies where developers also have you know also have their name put on everything they do. But not
Yeah,
everyone, like not
the
every company is
weight of
open
the
source.
signature,
Yeah,
the weight of the signature that's put, and how that comes back to bite you personally is like vastly different.
yeah, yeah.
Being an engineer and being into DevRel. So I totally get it. Yeah. Cool. So, okay, let's say you're trying to give advice to somebody who's trying to get into DevRel,
Hmm.
just wants to get started, whatever. What would the first thing be for them to do?
Well, I guess know how to use tech. You know, that's why it's a good idea to be a good/decent engineer. Know
Hmm.
how to use the product that the company is uh, building, and define what you want. Because DevRel is like super wide and undefined. I think it's an umbrella term. There are like multiple other titles that fall under the DevRel, umbrella term, and
Yeah,
might not even have any overlap between those two different positions.
sure, that's correct.
Yeah, I've talked with a
And I
lot of
mean,
people. Hey, you're a DevRel. What do you do? And they tell me what they do, and I was like, I do none of that, but I'm a DevRels,
exactly.
and I do these things. And they're like, those things exist. I don't do those things. So like, we're both at the same. Yeah, I guess DevRel is not at the same scale, but it's like saying that you're a DevRel could potentially mean like, hey, I'm a software engineer.
Hmm.
But what kind
Yeah,
of software
yeah.
engineer? Yeah.
It's very much an umbrella thing. Like
Yeah,
it could mean like a 500 different things, and like
exactly.
the only thing we could probably all agree on is that it has some amount of intersectionality with just it's engineering plus a bunch of other
Yeah,
things.
engineering
And
plus
I
the
think
the
that,
the will to help others.
but yeah, that you could
Yeah,
say that, but put in like the corporate ladder terms, you have an overlap with product, you have
yeah,
an overlap with marketing, and bunch of other departments that you wouldn't traditionally associate with just hardcore engineering
yeah,
work, or what would be considered the traditional software engineers fare, for
yeah.
example.
I personally am part of both marketing meetings and engineering meetings, which
Hmm.
luckily they're not a lot, and we're not talking about double the amount of meetings. To be honest, it's
You're
very
doing it right then.
casual. Yeah, we don't have like meetings every day, especially not Monday and Friday. It's like a thing. No meetings.
That's amazing, man.
Most of my meetings, I would say, are in Thursday, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm part of both marketing and engineering meetings. So that's DevRel, I guess. Yeah. Be
Hmm.
curious. Uh, Try to use the product without any bias. So you can find that any rough edges, any use cases, you know, and then talk with the engineers. Hey, I tried to do this. It didn't work. Why? What am I doing wrong?
Hmm.
And some of the like in some of the cases they'll be like, "You're not actually doing wrong. We totally missed this. Thanks for the
Yeah.
thanks for checking it out."
Could be a bug, could be an uncovered case, could be a bunch of
Yeah,
things that were just, it's an oversight. It
yeah.
happens.
I do that a lot at Sentry. That's not something that's public because we're just talking in Slack. Unless I open unless they told me to open a bug on a ticket on GitHub if it's like a larger thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that's not really public and it's part of DevRel. Experiment with the new feature that's not even released yet. Understand that, get some ideas. Hey, I can use this new feature to build this or to do this.
Yeah.
Try to do that. Does it work? Yes, no. Talk with the engineers. Give them your experience as a professional library user.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're basically, let's say, a stand-in for what would the regular user be, or maybe what the regular user would try to do.
Yeah.
If we're aiming for developers as users of the product.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But see how everything ties together. You're speaking with developers. You're learning about their pain points. You're a developer, and when you
Yeah.
dog food your own product, you're trying to, and succeeding. It's not really that hard to use the product without any bias. And I think that also gives you success as DevRel.
Right.
Yeah, provide the feedback.
That's some really cool info. Yeah. So in a sense, you're the glue. You're sort of a guardian, internal, external, whatever. And yeah, you're pretty much looking out for the users and for your own company.
Yeah.
In many senses.
That's the troublemaker part that I understand now, You're using the product, you're like figuring out the rough edges and like, hey, I tried to do this. It seems like a reasonable thing to do, or like it's logical, but it doesn't work. And yeah, metaphorically speaking, the engineers are going to hate you, but they don't.
Nah, yeah, you're the guy that's, up there next, like,
Yeah.
like, hey, this doesn't work.
This doesn't work.
Please fix it or whatever.
And they were like, God damn, I thought I was going to release
This guy again.
No, release is postponed because of the DevRel. Troublemaker.
Yeah.
I understand it now.
That's so cool. Like, yeah. But beyond like doing the DevRel stuff for your company, like you're also active with streams, with writing, with a community, a relatively newfound community that's pretty thriving and active. And there are some which I'm also a part of, and I love it there.
Yeah, it's fun.
Want to talk about that for a bit because I would love to hear more.
Well, let's do it. Yeah. I do all those things whenever I had time. That's something that I made a decision on. I'm not going to work the algorithm, if you will. I'm not going to try to just put something out there so that people will read my name subconsciously. I want to take my time, and if I have something to say, I'll say. If not, I'm just gonna keep quiet, and I'm comfortable doing that. So if I think that I can provide some value to whoever stumbles upon it, I'm going to release something, whether that's like a blog post or a video or maybe a live stream where we build something, figure something out. I just started live streaming, building an app that we need at Sentry, the DevRel team, for sharing links, basically. So like after we give our talks or workshops, usually the last slide is thank you. Here are all the links. There are sometimes there's not enough space. And we can try using link in bio or bento.me. But that's like one collection. So we were like, let's build our own app and we can create link collections and share them with a single link and a QR code. Cool. We're doing that. And I'm streaming that in, during basically work hours. There's not really defined what work hours are, etc. Yeah, but it's not bad. I never felt like I need to tune in at like 10 p.m.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I do. What specifically you want to talk about?
Well, let's talk about the Creatures Dev community.
Yeah, the
What was the
creatures.
idea behind that? What made you start the community?
Yeah, well, it was originally called Curious Coding Creatures,
Mm-hmm.
the 3C, Curious Coding Creatures. And I wanted to like attract curious, like-minded coding creatures and just talk about tech
Yep.
without being exposed to the social media factors. You know, hot takes and drama and toxicity, you know.
We have Twitter for that. That's enough.
Yeah, that was a reason why I also like that was the reason why I wanted to just step back because I log in, uh, I keep reading. There's always something, you know, that like I don't like, and I'm gonna read it, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, why do you have this, you know, stance on things? Why do you have these viewpoint? You know, why are you so extreme, etc., etc.? And that's like I was like, let's create our own community, and we're just
Mm-hmm.
gonna grow it out organically. Whoever finds a role in the community gets to stay there. Not that I kick people. I think we have like 140, 140 something,
Mm-hmm.
but just a handful of us are active, like 5 people, 5 to 10. But it's okay. You know, it's all
Oh,
right.
it's cool.
Yeah,
There are some pretty lively discussions, I would say, on topics that I don't think I'd find anywhere else.
yeah.
There was this like very interesting recently thing that's sort of a cross section between a static site generator and a slide deck
Mm-hmm.
was really cool, and I realized I needed that in my life.
Yeah.
So it's like ideas like that, experimentation and like sharing collaboration stuff. It's
You can do that on
from a
Twitter.
user's, yeah, you can, come on, man, someone
Mm.
will tell you right out that you're doing something wrong,
Yeah.
or that's the wrong thing to do to begin with.
Yeah.
So like,
You're going to hear opinions from people who are not suitable or are not the target audience for what you're doing. They're going to give you their
yeah,
opinion and it's going to mess with your head.
yeah, yeah,
And that's why you need
absolutely.
a tighter circle to discuss these things. Otherwise, you're not going to do anything and
Mm-hmm.
you end up living in a bubble.
Yeah,
You don't want to live in a
yeah.
bubble.
No, 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 man. Like,
It's bad.
I get that. Like, developers in general we tend to be tribalistic.
Yeah.
We do, but it doesn't have to be like your entire identity. It doesn't mean that if
Mm,
I like React, I have to hate Vue by
exactly.
default. And the narrative tends to be that,
Mm.
that's crazy. You can like and dislike stuff, but you don't really have to hate the other person's
Yeah.
what the other
What
person's
does it
likes.
give you? I don't
Yeah,
see it.
exactly.
I don't see it.
There's no value. Like, literally, what are you trying to preach to, switch religions, basically? Like,
Yeah.
why the hell would you do that,
I know what the influencers get out of it. Very much so.
No, that's different. That's
Yeah.
like selling makeup in many senses,
Hmm.
like it's, and let's say I get it. There is monetary incentive. There is like the incentive of fame and power and all of that stuff, but that, has the duration and the stability of that is pretty fickle.
Mm.
It's not, permanent. It's not gonna stay relevant
Yeah.
in 10 years time.
And it's very easy to mess it up.
Oh yeah, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Not everyone can navigate that many eyes and ears on them.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. I
It is,
mean,
yeah.
granted. So, I'm not. It's not that I'm jealous of those people in any sense. I would really, really hate it to be in their shoes, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I totally feel you.
Yeah. They get stuff that we don't usually get, but we get a lot of stuff that they don't usually get. And pretty important ones.
Yeah, yeah, that's really true. Cool. So, like, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to talk about, that you would like to mention, shout out, stuff you're working on, stuff you're, like really enthusiastic about?
Yeah. Check out my stuff. Join
We'll leave
the
links in the show notes for
yeah.
sure, like so that
Join the
people can
creatures
check it out.
community.
Oh yeah, for real, like join the community,
It's
people.
fun.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
We're pretty chill. There are no job postings, no advertisements. We're pretty direct about that. We have a really cool landing page. You should see it.
Oh yeah.
And
Creatures.dev, like seriously,
really
go and check
cool
it out.
landing page. I love that landing page. And
It's really
yeah,
good.
what else? I mean, most of the stuff happened there. I try to run a casual YouTube channel. I'm actually thinking about uh, dipping into the sub niche of NeoVim for web developers.
Oh, cool.
I
All
published
right.
like the lowest effort I can put into video.
Oh, I saw that a couple
Yeah,
of days ago.
yeah,
You published that thing. Yeah.
and it's performing a lot more than I expected. To be honest, I'm not sure what it is. I
Interesting.
think it's a maybe I've struck a pain point. Using NeoVim, like we want to use NeoVim. It's cool. You're in the terminal and all these things,
Yeah.
but you're also a web developer where the primary tools are built for VS Code. So how do we get both
Yeah.
of the stuff? And I think I struck something there. So I'm going to explore that a little bit. Again, low effort videos. There's not going to be "What's up, guys," or click the bell in the notifications in
Smash the like
smash
button.
the like button. No, I'm just gonna stop recording when I give my
Yeah.
message. I like that.
I think it's valuable. Like a huge part of what we see as video content sets some very unrealistic expectations for newcomers.
Mm-hmm.
They think that they have to like over edit and over like make up everything there is in order for their stuff to have value. I mean, sure, it
Yeah,
helps,
it
but
helps,
it's really about
but
the
it's
content
annoying.
you're producing. It is absolutely. I mean, no argument
Yeah,
about
look,
that.
I used to wear a different T-shirt before I tuned in for this podcast.
All
I
right.
also the hat wasn't on my head. The lights at the background, they were off. I'm just using the ordinary room light, the big light. Imagine doing that, the whole thing. Go pick a different shirt, like a more decent one, not like comb the beard, make it look
Yeah,
somewhat
yeah.
decent, so it's not like super wild. uh Turn on this light, turn on those lights, turn on the where is it, the octocat, turn on everything. It's a lot. I just
It
wanted
is.
to like plug in my microphone so I can explain stuff, record my screen, do what I'm doing, and then stop recording, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel
Remove as
that. I
much
mean, there is
friction as
a
possible.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a very, very thin line at which you're stopping to be an educator and you're starting to be sort of a performer more than you're being an educator.
Yeah, I don't want to.
And like
Yeah,
it's fine for video to look nice, but you don't have to overdo it. It doesn't have to be like,
yeah.
like the
I'm actually
20
ashamed.
plus million channels.
Yeah, I'm actually ashamed that it took me that while to figure out that it's you don't need to overdo it. You don't need to turn on that fancy camera and stuff and lights and everything. You have an idea. You want to explain something. Go ahead. Get your
Yeah.
microphone and do it.
I mean, consider this. There are kids with, very mid-range phones that
Mm,
have a YouTube following of millions,
yeah,
and they're still using
they're
the
using their
same.
phones. Yeah,
Yeah, nothing special about it, nothing interesting, and they'll still manage to make something interesting for people to watch.
yeah.
So
I think there could be like a flow chart for making the decision should I invest more in this piece? Should I turn on the camera, the good one? Should I play with some B-rolls if needed? I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's a flowchart. I mean, there's, as you mentioned, it adds production quality, and production quality most of the time means higher click rate.
Yeah.
But not everything needs to be higher click rate, or like high
True.
production value. It can still have a high click rate. And it's not that you're trying to, you're not basically chasing numbers. The When I'm looking at analytics, I'm basically looking at from a prism of did I do a good job explaining this, and do people find it useful, and where do they stop watching? What's the moment where they were like, yeah, screw this, I'm just gonna command W out of Lazar's video.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to. This when I'm reading the analytics, I'm just trying to see if I messed it up in the video, if I'm not explaining something that, valuable or crucial. If the people aren't, if they drop out, they drop out because they don't find it useful, they don't find it valuable. And it's about experimentation, right? But yeah,
It
it's not
is
about
true.
chasing chasing the followers, subscribers, chasing the numbers so you can turn on the monetization and stuff. I mean, sure, if you can get a few bucks out of your videos, that's nice.
Why
It's
not?
not going to be life changing
Yeah,
unless you
for
do it
sure.
for
It's not
eight
gonna make
hours a
you
day.
rich. Yeah, that's different. That's a job.
That's a job.
It's not a hobby.
But
Yeah.
it's
So
not that fun though.
no.
When it becomes a
Like
job, part of the fun just flies away, evaporates.
video editing and video montage is one of the most, ungrateful things to do as a tech professional, someone that does
But then
development.
also
It's probably
you gotta come up with a really fat backlog, so you have
Mhm.
enough content to publish every day or twice or like 3 times a week or something like that.
Yeah,
Because it's a job.
it
It's a
is.
job
It
now,
is.
and you're not doing it because you felt a sudden inspiration and wanna just produce one and upload it whenever you produce it. No, you involve processes. You involve different types of analytics. It becomes a job. I don't want it to be a job. You know,
Yeah.
can I get a few bucks? Sure, why not? Appreciate that beer money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, is it going to be life changing? No, and it's
No.
it's important that you like understand and like embrace that you're okay. It's not going to be life changing, but I'm actually still going to do it anyway.
So okay, before we go to the closing part, what you gonna do for Advent of Code? What are your plans?
Yeah, I'm getting into Go. I want to
Cool.
try to solve as much as I can using Go.
Nice.
That's my idea. I'm not gonna solve every 25, was it? Yeah, every 25 challenges. Definitely. If I solve half of them, I'll be seriously lucky and happy.
That sounds cool. Sounds like a plan actually.
Yeah.
Go is a cool language. Yeah.
I created a little channel so we can discuss our solutions and stuff in the Discord server, and it's gonna be fun. I think there's more folks who's going to take on the challenge. One of them wants to do it in OCaml. That's interesting. I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to
OCaml
see
is
how.
interesting as well.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do it in Go. This other person is gonna do it in OCaml. Maybe someone swoops in with TypeScript or something like that. And when we compare our solutions, you're basically learning those languages as well, in a way.
Yeah. You're sort of trading tips between languages, how to
Yeah.
approach,
Yeah.
in a problem space and
Why did you
stuff.
do
That's
this?
cool.
Why didn't you take this approach, etc.? And they'll
Yeah,
tell you.
but you also you also sometimes have the people that try to do the challenge in TypeScript's type system. So there's also that.
That's next level, I think.
Yeah, that's like, how can I make my life harder, but like I want to make it extra hard.
Extra hard, yeah. I would rather go with what was the other one, like brain fuck or something like that.
Yeah, there's brain fuck and there's like the absolute horror that is malbolge. That's like,
yeah, it's equivalent.
Oh my god, it's that thing is unwritable. You can't write that thing.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But it exists.
Yeah, it does. Some people, had maybe a bad Friday and decided, okay, I'll make someone else's life miserable from now on. Shit, so it's cool.
People,
people, man,
people, man, inventing languages.
Nice. So right, yeah, I think we're past an hour.
Yeah.
Just, we covered a lot of area. Thank you for being on this.
Of course.
I really appreciate it.
It's always fun and interesting speaking with you. Just like we did yesterday.
Yeah.
When we
that's a funny story. Yeah, I'm telling that one then. Well, we were scheduled to record this yesterday, but yesterday was Camera Had Opinions. And Darko wasn't really too up to the task of making the camera not have opinions. So we were half an hour late with starting, and Lucky had to go because, he has a job and stuff, minor inconveniences, And like, we had to reschedule it for today because he was graceful enough to have an hour today as well. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And,
I didn't want it to do just 30 minutes because we were like half an hour late. And I was like, let's create an ordinary episode.
Yeah.
But what happened then? We still ended up talking for an hour. We could have just recorded it.
Yeah. And you had a soft stop at the point that was half an hour before when we stopped. So, yeah, I'm sorry if I caused you any, you being late for work or whatever.
I just wanted to get to the... I was actually pretty much on time. And when I got to the office, I was like 5 minutes before the meeting starts. So it was right on time.
Cool. So, like words of wisdom here, like people check your cameras before you try to podcast. If you're recording the video, of course, sometimes cameras have brains of their own. As it goes. So cool. Thank you very much for doing this with me. This was CodePub with Lazar Nikolov, and see you on the next episode. Peace out.